We have our political forum for the Iowa House District 55 and 56. We thank you, candidates, for joining us tonight, and especially the community coming out tonight as well. I'm Mark Wiley, and I'm the moderator tonight. We will begin the evening giving each candidate 2 to 3 minutes for an introduction. Following the candidate's introduction, the senior government students will present questions to specific districts. After the class has presented their questions, our guests will have the opportunity to ask questions as well, and we will do that for roughly 15 to 20 minutes at most. We will wrap up with a 2-minute conclusion from the candidates to top off the night. So to begin tonight, we will start with introductions in House District 55. Candidate Rick Edwards, you have 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you very much. And thank you for the class down here to put this program together. It's great for all the candidates to be able to come and talk to not only the students, but some constituents in the crowd. My name is Rick Edwards again. I was retired as Park and Recreation Director a year and a half ago in Decorah. I've been there 19 years. Worked for the city. My information about my family and my personal information is available on my website, edwardsforiowa.com, and I'm not going to go through all of that right now. I'm going to use this time to really talk about my core values and some of the things that I use to determine my stance on different issues as they come up. We aren't going to be able to talk about all the issues here tonight. I just want you to know where I'm coming from. I'm a strong believer in personal freedom and individual liberty. So everyone has a chance to live the American dream and to do what they want to with their life. Another core value of mine is equal opportunities. Regardless of your economic situation, your race, your color, the language that you speak, your sexual orientation, or your special need, you should have an opportunity also for that personal freedom to be the individual that you want to be in your lifetime. Another of my core values is compassion. We will be judged, I feel, on how we treat the less fortunate and the disadvantaged that live amongst us. This includes the children, the sick, the poor, and the elderly. It's very important that as we achieve that, the American dream, that those that maybe don't get to do that aren't left behind. We help other people as we come along. And my fourth core value is I think we have a responsibility to pass on our natural resources to our grandchildren's grandchildren. Many of you saw the Roosevelt program Ken Burns did. Talked about the Roosevelts having the long eye, the ability to look over the horizon, see what's coming in the future, and make plans for that today. 100 years isn't very long. 100 years goes by very quickly, and we need to make sure that we're planning for that 100 years out there. We need to leave a world that people can live in. A lot of things happen in 100 years, although it's not a very long time. Technology is skyrocketing. My grandfather, born in 1884, in his lifetime we went from riding a horse to a man on the moon. There'll be even larger changes in the next 100 years. So it's hard to imagine where we'll be and what we'll be doing, but I can guarantee 3 things. We're going to need air we can breathe, we're going to need water we can drink, and we're going to need soil to grow food for ourselves and the rest of the world. So I look forward to hearing some of your issues tonight, and thank you again for allowing us to come here and talk to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Edwards. Darrell Branhagen, you have 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm Darrell Branhagen. If you get up in Winnebago County, they say Darrell Brunhagen, but those are just Norwegians up there like me. So you'll have to understand that we don't always pronounce their names exactly the same. I'm a Northeast Iowa farm boy, born and raised on a farm. I love it. You can probably see my ads as I drive my John Deere 520. I've been on that farm for just about on and off all my life. My great-great-grandfather was the last living Civil War veteran in Winnebago County, and I live in the house that he built. So I'm a farm boy, and I'm part of the farming community here. I know the value and the worth of farming. It distresses me sometimes when I see people like Bruce Braley saying that Chuck Grassley is just a farmer and not a lawyer. Well, I can tell you, being a farmer is the best thing that you can be on this planet. We have done more to make this country that it is, and as rich country it is, through farming activities. And I'm proud to be a farmer. And I can say that because I'm also a lawyer. So I've been both. And they're great vocations for all you students, both of you. And don't ever let anybody tell you that farming is not a great activity. I've also been a businessman for most of the part of my life. I ran a nationwide company over 30 years. And we did business in every major city in the United States, including in Alaska and Hawaii. I know how business is run. And you know, it didn't take my 4 years of teaching at Luther College as an economics professor to learn that you got to make a profit when you're in a business. And the easiest way not to make a profit and not to make that business succeed is for the government to come in and take away your money through taxation, through regulation. And the easiest way to non-employment and unemployment is what the government does to business today. And we need to stop government from taking those jobs, good jobs, away from us. I also was a soldier. I believe in public service. I was in the Army for 30 years. In that 30 years, I saw a lot of things. I had units as many as 250 that worked for me, men and women. I led a unit into battle in Afghanistan. In Afghanistan, I worked with every ministry in Afghanistan. That was my job. I was a coalition advisor for the country of Afghanistan for all coalition forces. And it's one thing to negotiate roads and schools and wells like I did. And it's another thing to have them shoot at you at night. But that was something that I did, and I'm proud of doing. And I think service to this country is something that every one of us should do. So if you get a calling, guys, the Army's a great place to go. Or the Navy. I see a guy with Navy hat over there. That's that too. Core values, I believe in personal freedom as well. But I also believe that a 100-year view is a little bit too long. Our roads need to get fixed now. We need to raise the Iowa road tax now and fix our roads. We can't wait 100 years. There are problems that we need to address, and there are problems we need to address now. So thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Manning. We turn our attention to District 56, and Mr. Lowell Engel, you can start 2 to 3 minutes as well.
Thank you very much. I'm Lowell Engel. I'm a tree farmer from Harpers Ferry. I've not always been a tree farmer. I was born in Hampton, Iowa, and I grew up in a family farm in northeast Iowa. We were sharecroppers, and so we were pretty poor, but growing up on the farm, I learned all of the values that helped me be a success in my career. And those include hard work and sticking with the job until it's done, and never giving up, and being willing to take on almost any job that is put before you. I graduated from high school in Tripola, and after I worked for 1 year and started college at Iowa State Teachers College in Cedar Falls, which is now UNI. And after a year in summer school at Cedar Falls, I was recruited into the FBI. I went to Washington and worked for 2 years with the FBI and worked on a very, very interesting case. I don't think my 3 minutes is going to allow me enough time to tell you about that case, but I'd be willing to talk to any of you and all of you afterwards about what I did during that time. I came back to Iowa to try to get a degree and ran out of money at the University of Iowa and went into the Army. In the Army, I worked for 3 years in Army intelligence. And I came back to Iowa, and I couldn't get a decent job as a veteran. And that's going to be one of my focuses when I get to Des Moines. We have to do a better job than what's being done in providing for our veterans when they come back from service. Well, I worked for 2 years in private industry in Minneapolis, and then I was recruited once again in the intelligence field. And I spent the next 25 years in several different countries overseas, working for the State Department and the Department of Defense. And I retired in 1991 and came back to Harpers Ferry, to the farm that I had purchased in 1972. And I started building my house, and before I had the house finished, I received a call from Washington asking me if I would take a short contract to help on a project in Latin America. And that led into 20 more years of working in the intelligence field contracting with the Central Intelligence Agency. So I retired, actually finally retired, it'll be 3 years ago in December, back in Iowa. And I feel strongly that we're headed in the wrong direction in this country, and that's what has prompted me to run for this office. And I'm really glad to see the young people out here tonight. You are the future, and I'm looking forward to answering all your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. We turn our last introduction, Patty Rupp. Your time, 2 to 3 minutes.
Thank you, and thanks to the Central Government Task for holding this forum tonight, and thanks to all of you for coming out. It's important that you be able to hear our views and how we feel about issues that are important to you. 2 years ago, I was elected as representative for District 56, and Allen McKean Clayton counties elected me to be their voice down in Des Moines and to bring a strong voice to the legislative table, and I've done just that. During the course of my first term, I've been able to work across the aisle in a bipartisan manner that you don't see at the federal level, but yet you still see at the state level. One of the issues that was high priority for me when I got down there was to make sure that there was a funding situation for our small rural schools that was getting ready to sunset. And it had to do with being able to share administrative positions. I was able to work not only across the aisle, but also with those in the Senate to create a bill that kept that funding in place for all of our districts in Clayton and Allen McKean counties. All of our schools use this, and it's important. And I made sure that not only passed both chambers, but it was also signed with the governor. And so luckily we still have that in place, and that funding is still there to keep our schools open. The most important thing about being a legislator, though, is listening to all of you. And we get emails, we get phone calls, we get regular mail from constituents all the time, daily. And to me, being a legislator, it's important to represent you, your wishes, your wants, your needs at the state level. Not my own agenda, not a party's agenda, but what's important to Iowans, and especially to Northeast Iowans. There's a lot more to be done, and I'm excited to get back to the State House for the next 2 years. We need to shore up our early childhood education, make sure that our kids get off to a good start, make sure that our interventions and our safety nets are there for them as they grow older. Also, for our high school students that are looking towards college, we need to make sure that it's affordable. I'm all in favor of a 3rd year of tuition freezes at our state universities and also expanding our grants that we have for our private colleges as well. I'm a graduate from Loras, so I was one of those students back in the early days, I have to admit, that was able to use those grants to help pay for my college education. We also need to continue our partnerships between the community colleges, our businesses, and our high schools. They have forged a great partnership that is trying to fill those workforce in our middle skill jobs. And there's a lot more we can do. And I look forward to your support and being able to work for you in the State House. Thanks.
Thank you, Mrs. Rupp. We will turn our attention tonight, then we'll begin with the evening's questions. The first question comes from Alyssa Perman. She's going to present a question on education to District 55. In this forum part, each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond.
With the debate of hours versus days in school districts, do you feel 6 hours instruction time is enough for all ages?
We will start with Mr. Evans.
I don't think 6 hours of school is enough. I think that it takes a while for children and students to get to school, to get into the rhythm of learning and staying there. I would think that 6 hours is probably not enough time.
Thank you, Mr. Brinham.
You know, if the time is used wisely, 6 hours still is a little short. I remember my homeroom starting at 8:20 in the morning, and they let us out at 3:45 in the afternoon. We had 1 hour for lunch. That's more than 6 hours. I don't know why the amount of hours has decreased in the years that I went to school. I went to school 6 years in the one-room country school. I thought I had a good education, but they kept us there during that time. What kind of disturbs me is something that I've seen with my own children, and that's an increasing leniency for getting out of school in the afternoon. When I was in school, you couldn't walk down the hall between classes, during classes, without somebody stopping you and saying, why aren't you in class? And now, I see in the larger high schools, a lot of students going out of class, getting out early, not truancy, just out for a variety of circumstances. And that's not good, because when they're in school, they need to be in school. 6 hours is really not enough for each day, especially when you consider all the homework and things that you get. You need to be there, and this is even less happy for you students, but you know we really need to talk about extending the school year even to the summer longer. That's hard on the farmers, but education is a full-time work. It is a lifetime work.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. Keaton Lane will present our next question to District 56. Again, each of you candidates will have 2 minutes. We will start with Mrs. Ruff this time.
How do you plan to increase job opportunities for Iowa veterans?
Thanks, Keaton. Last year, while we were in session, the governor, of course, had his proposal for veterans that expanded tax exemptions for veterans to try and entice them to stay in Iowa. Iowa's tax structure, unfortunately, is not favorable like some states are. I know Wyoming is one, along with Alaska is another. We need to be able to continue what we've done at the state level with looking at our veterans and what they're able to do for skill sets. And with that in mind, being able to automatically certify them for the skills that they're able to do. And I think we need to expand further on that. Our veterans come back from service with lots of skills that can be applied here at home. And even further with tuition breaks and grants through our community colleges, I think we can even increase their skill sets further and make sure that they are employable and make sure our employers know that they have the skills that they need and are very capable of being wonderful employees and bring a mindset that's not always known in certain employees that don't have that veteran service.
Thank you, Mrs. Ruff. Go ahead, Ms. Ingram.
The first thing that I would say is that for a returning veteran, I would like to appeal to all of the companies that have jobs and suggest to them that any returning veteran get the first preference for any job opening that is in his particular business. And I would agree with Patty on the idea of being able to help the veterans with the training. If they come back with skill sets that are not really applicable for a particular job, then I think that we really need to help them with their training. And that would be one of the things that I would certainly vote for in providing funding to help with training and education for any veteran who needs a job.
All right, thank you very much. Keon Stender has our second question for District 55. Mr. Randy, you will start first.
How does our state legislature help ensure that Iowans can get affordable post-secondary education and acquire skills needed to succeed?
Thank you, Ken. I think we have one of the best post-secondary educational systems in the United States. I come from a house divided. My wife went to the University of Iowa. I kind of went to Iowa State. I taught at Luther. So we have a wonderful postgraduate educational structure. But what I see particularly a need for now is the more kind of training that we see at the Northeast Iowa Community College. I have been tremendously impressed by by what they do with the students that come into that Elma campus. The most interesting fact of that campus is that everybody works. When they go in there, they have counseling to see, to make sure that they have a place to be, a means to go through there, and a job when they get out. Unfortunately, postgraduate education today, 40% of kids still live with their parents within 6 months of their education. That's nationwide. It's not true in Iowa. That's awful. Northeast Iowa Community College places almost 100% of its students in desirable occupations when they graduate with an associate's degree. We need to do more of that. Let's concentrate not just on the liberal arts educations and this type of STEM education that we get sometimes at the bigger universities, but let's look at those community colleges, because those are the skills that we really need in these kinds of neighborhoods that we work in. And I would really like to see more attention paid to those types of colleges. And I encourage you kids to really look at that, because there's some good jobs out there, and good teaching, and good places to go.
Thank you, Mr. Rainey. Mr. Edwards?
Yes, I would support the tuition freeze at the state universities, continue it for the 3rd year. I also think that there needs to be something done with lowering interest rates for students on their student loans. I know it's a national issue, but I think that more pressure needs to be put on the legislature. It's a shame that big banks can borrow money at 0.5% or 0.75%, and I know my children are still paying back their college loans at 6 or 7%. So those are a couple of things to decrease the cost of the 4-year colleges. I agree completely with Darrell on support of community colleges. They're a huge part of every community that they're in. I attended Iowa Lakes Community College. I graduated from Iowa Lakes in 1972. And then I was able to go on to a 4-year college and get a 4-year degree, and I saved a lot of money by doing that. The great thing about community colleges is that they can shift their emphasis. They can train, if there's a need for a certain skill in an area, you've seen it with the wind turbines. They can gear up and change what they're teaching in order to provide the training needed to keep many people employed within the state of Iowa by teaching them the skills that they need right here and right now. Since I've started running for the legislature, I've gotten many letters from many different companies throughout the state talking about how important it was for the community college in their area to teach and train employees for them. So I would agree with Darrell on that. Community college funding is very important.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Edwards. Sheena Helgerson will present the second question to District 56, who will start with Mr. Engel.
With the Iowa Gaming Commission putting a 3-year pause on new casino applications, how do you stand on supporting existing local casinos and gaming houses?
Thank you, Tina. I think that we have enough gambling houses in the state of Iowa, and I think that was brought forth pretty clearly with the attempt by Cedar Rapids to bring to Cedar Rapids another casino. I need to study what is actually happening with the funds that were supposedly going into the education accounts for Iowa coming from casinos. I'm not sure exactly how those funds are dispersed, and if it's dispersed equally to each county or how that happens. But I think that there's honestly enough money that in the system that is coming from the casinos that we don't need to approve any more casinos strictly for providing funding for education. We need to do better with what we're getting from the casinos already to make sure that it's going to where it's intended.
Thank you, Mr. Engel. Mrs. Rupp?
Thank you. I was pleased to see that the 3-year pause also. I worked with the board for the Lady Luck Casino, the Upper Mississippi Gaming Commission, and they brought it to my attention when Cedar Rapids was going for their license, how it would affect their casino in Marquette, and it would draw some of the market area away from them. And that's not all about profit. What Upper Mississippi Gaming Commission does is it takes a portion of their revenues and it has to distribute those out in the county that the casino is in. And as you are all aware, they dole out thousands of dollars to many of our different organizations throughout our communities. A lot of the money goes actually for Dollars for Scholars for our graduating seniors in all of our local school districts. And that's huge. That's a pot of money that is there that is coming back into our communities to help out our students, further their education, and move on in life. The way the formula works is when you have a casino in your county, you get a portion of those funds to distribute to charities. But when the whole pot sits in the state of Iowa, then it is dispersed equally amongst those counties that do not have a casino. And those go for different things like charities and also the education funds as well. And I think we're at a stable point right now in the state where we sit currently with all of our current licenses as far as casinos and gaming houses go.
Thank you very much. Dealing with economic growth, Lexi Funk will present our next question, District 55.
What do you feel is the best way to create jobs for Iowans?
And we'll start with Mr. Edwards.
Okay, thank you. Good question and a big problem. There are, as I travel throughout the state and talk to different people, I see a huge difference in what economic development means to different areas of the state. My parents live over in Palo Alto County in northwest Iowa. The Board of Supervisors in that county put a letter to the editor. They have a good neighbor policy, which works pretty well for hog confinement placement. It's a voluntary thing, but the gist of it in their letter is they want more hog confinements in Palo Alto County. I think if you talk to the people in Winnebago County and Clayton and Fayette, you may get a different answer on that. I think the needs are different in not only different parts of the state, but also in different areas within the district. I see a different strategy in Decorah and Elkader, say, than in West Union and Fayette. I think each individual community needs to come up with what they think they need, identify their strengths, and build on those strengths in order to bring economic development into that area. I would certainly be in favor of spreading some of the economic development money out into the nether regions of the state and not concentrate it all around the big cities. I think, you know what, we've got a wonderful area here in northeast Iowa, and it's a special place. People know it's special. We need to keep it special. People will want to come here. I think quality of life is huge in attracting businesses into a community. Randy Ewell, the Economic Development Director up in Decorah, recently retired, and basically that was in his going away speech. He said what people want is quality of life. They want to be able to come bring their company into a town and attract good employees that are going to have good schools to send their kids to and have a great quality of life. And I think that's a big part of creating jobs.
Easiest question tonight. How can we make our business climate better? Let me tell you something about Iowa. Iowa is a state with the 9th lowest unemployment in the United States. That's great. We have more people employed today in Iowa than we have ever had in its history. We do a good job in Iowa. The best thing that we can do to make sure that our businesses run well is to let the businesses run well. Keep the government out of it. Do not subsidize businesses that are growing. Do not help the businesses that are not, that are going out of business. Let them fail. But let the businesses succeed. Keep the regulation down. Keep the taxation down. There is no amount of regulation that's going to help a business succeed. So if we do what we can do, which we have been doing in Iowa, unfortunately we have not been doing it on a national basis, but in Iowa we've been doing a good job keeping business generally out of people's pockets who are trying to make jobs for everybody here. And let's continue to do so. If there's one thing I do in the Iowa legislature, is to make sure the government is off the backs of people